The book revolves around a group of boys who attend Welton Academy. There they are met by their new English teacher, Mr. Keating. He's a very charismatic guy who previously also went to Welton. He has a very different way of teaching that involves free thinking and seizing the day. The boys are inspired by Mr. Keating and because of him form what they call Dead Poet Society, where they practice the teachings of Mr. Keating. The main theme of the book is Carpe Diem, which is Latin for seizing the day. It is something Mr. Keating is very passionate about. The main themes also include themes such as education, success, rebellion, passion, and love. The school has a very strict policy on rules, and the children's parents do too. That makes Mr. Keating's way of thinking and teaching more drawing and appealing. It's a totally different way of thinking, and it represents an alternative to the ideas that they hear from everyone else. The children are taught by the school to believe that there's a simple, straightforward model for how to live life. Mr. Keating shakes up that theory with his own beliefs, which basically is that we're all going to die someday. He tells the kids on the very first day of school that when he says that they will all be food for worms. For Mr. Keating, Carpe Diem is a celebration of life over death. If we're all going to die, let's live life to the fullest. That's the theme that really dominates the book. Another theme that is very apparent throughout the book is the theme of education. The book takes place on a boarding school, and therefore it's obvious that education will be a big part of it. In the book, there are two different ways of teaching that gets explored. The first one is the Welton way, which focuses on memorization and obedience towards authority. And the other one is the Keating way, which focuses more on free thinking and learning things for yourself.
We have chosen 4 of the boys that we think make the most changes of themselves, and in their own ways seize the day. Neil seizes the day by joining the play A Midsummer's Night, without consulting his father. Neil loves acting and finally feels that he's doing something with his life that gives meaning.
Todd doesn't find the courage to go against everything by himself, but instead he gets help from the group, and especially Neil helps him finding his own voice, so that he can finally step out of the shadow of his brother.
Charlie is the first to defy all of the 4 pillars when taking the phone and asking why there are no girls attending Welton Academy, while Mr. Nolan is making his speech. He then gets into trouble by his actions, but even though Mr. Nolan punishes Charlie, he still fights for what he believes in.
Knox seizes the one thing that all the boys lack the most of. He seizes love. He seizes his love for Chris by wooing her with his poems at her high school. Even though all of her friends were watching, he was still determined to woo her. Though he misinterprets the message of seizing the day by going too far and making seizing the day an excuse for doing whatever he wants, which in this case is groping Chris while she's making out with her boyfriend.
The one thing that binds the boys together is that they all attend the Welton Academy, located in the remote hills of Vermont. The environment of the Welton Academy is a private preparatory school for boys who desire to go off to the Ivy Leagues. The fundamentals of the academy are the 4 pillars of ideals that the students must adhere to and follow. Those are tradition, discipline, honor, and excellence. That shows the ethics of the school, as we hear about the 4 pillars early in the first chapter. The rules are simple at the Welton Academy. Follow the 4 pillars or you will get rewarded with the best education and opportunities afterwards. But if you defy the rules of the school, you will get punished, not only expelled from the school, but also shunned from your family because of the disappointment. The school is clearly an outdated boarding school. This we can tell from the Welton village where Quiz, the girl Knox is in love with, goes to a more modern American high school, where popularity and drinking are highly above good grades and homework which are worshipped at the Welton Academy. Another important place of the book is the cave, where the boys go to have their Dead Poet Society meetings. These meetings become the start for the boys by thinking freely and seizing the day. The cave also introduces the boys to the other heights of the world, like women. Charlie brings the girls and shows the other boys that there is another way to live life, by being more spontaneous and creative.
Now I will talk about symbolism, and there are a lot of symbols in the text. The symbols mainly concern the creation of individual identities, seizing the day, and challenging traditional ideas and stereotypes. That is the old-fashioned ways of living and learning in order to be free and live life to the fullest. One of the main characters in the text is Mr. John Keating. Mr. Keating introduces the students to the self-thinking mindset of seizing the day. When the students first meet Mr. Keating, he jumps on his desk and yells, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." As it says in the book at page 23, line 27, he jumped dramatically onto his desk and turned to face the class. "Oh, Captain, my Captain," he recited energetically, then looked around the room. This symbolizes Mr. Keating seeing the world from another perspective, which means that he's challenging traditional ideas and stereotypes in order to be free. This is Mr. Keating's way of passing on his knowledge and way of free thinking. Another symbol in the book is when Todd receives the exact same desk set as he got for his birthday last year. In the book it states, "Todd sat silent and still. He pointed to a box. Neil opened it to find exactly the same monogrammed desk set Todd already had in his room." The desk set is a symbol for the lack of attention from his parents. When Todd throws the desk set over the edge of the building, it symbolizes his resentment and frustration against his parents. The last symbol is when the boys eat with their left hand instead of the right. This is a symbol for the boys creating their own individual personality and developing with the always growing society. It is not a big thing to do, but it is a stepping stone to something bigger. It's culturally frowned upon to eat with your left hand, and by doing this, the boys show that they don't care about the expectations of the society, their school, and their parents, but that they care about being themselves and creating their own unique way of living.